Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time to continue on this topic about the Addict's Miami bust, because new information just keeps coming out. And I got a whole lot more info, not all of it's even going to come out in this video. But it's time to talk about none other than my old buddy, Marc Lobliner. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing. Work on skilling up my crafting a little bit. Let's talk about this, because Marc made a video this morning talking about this, defending his good friend Mike Rashid. Marc. I think we caught you in some lies, some big lies. So let's talk about what he said about Mike first. He said that his good friend Mike Rashid, and that's interesting of how good of buddies he considers him to be, because I'm going to go somewhere with this. I got a theory. But let's discuss what we know. What we know is that Marc said that his good friend Mike Rashid, it's not his real name by the way, had nothing to do with this company, that it was his business partner and investor, Richard Rodriguez, who's also a good personal friend of Marc, whose name he has said before, publicly. Another good friend of yours, good old Dr. Rodriguez. Was doing it, and he knew nothing about it. He had nothing to do with it, and he knew nothing about it. Nothing about it at all. Well, you guys have already seen my other video about how the feds are going to look at that, how they're going to deal with Mike. But here's my question. It's really interesting that a guy who knew nothing about it in a public interview, which I obtained a copy of, and I have a copy of the entire video with Mike in it talking, and it's raw footage, no clipping, no editing, raw footage, of Mike Rashid talking about wellness, fitness, and nutrition, and Richard Rodriguez talking about him, about how he has legal steroids prescribed by a doctor, and the website can get you a prescription. He named the website in the interview, and Richard was off camera talking, and they'd ask him, do you want to come on camera? He said, no, I don't want to come on camera. So Richard, the guy who was busted, was in the room talking to him and Rick Dresden while he's being interviewed. And even if Rick pulls this video down, I've got a copy of it already. Mike publicly pimped this steroid business. So he can't deny that he knew anything about it. He publicly pimped it as a spokesman for it. He pimped it right there with the owner in the room. Said his name, said the name of the company, everything. And said it was fully legal steroids. He promoted the business right there. So how could his friend Mike Rashid, Marc, how could your friend Mike Rashid have nothing to do with it and not know about it when he's talking about it publicly in an interview? How exactly does that fucking work? How does that work? Did he forget that he publicly endorsed the company? Did he forget about this and tell you he didn't? Because he's caught right there. He's done. He's caught. He endorsed the company, so he knew all about it. So yeah, go watch my other video about how the feds are going to deal with him and potential for money laundering, racketeering, everything else. Yeah, interesting. Well, here's the thing. Marc, you probably better call Saul also. Because let me explain the other thing. Yeah, you might have made your video private, but people link your video all over forums, and there's discussion about your video all under forums. Everyone talking about what you said in your video. And by the way, I checked. It was interesting that you had every copy of this video pulled. And that's fine. I do the same thing, man. When people steal my shit and put it all up on Vimeo and other places, I get copyright hits and I get their shit pulled down too. So I get that. But it's interesting that this one video of yours, you pulled it before many people got rips. And got it pulled everywhere else. So there's no real copies up floating around at the moment. People have copies, but they're not floating around. They're not being uploaded. But you pimped this company too. And if I recall, didn't you say somewhere, allegedly say, now you can deny this, Marc, but you may have allegedly said that Dr. Rodriguez was your TRT doctor. There are even people claiming that you had a machine discount code for a wellness, fitness, and nutrition website. that they get a discount code if they use your machine. Well, you better really hope that's not fucking true. Because if that's true and they have records of you pimping the website and them doing that, if that allegation is true, and I hope it isn't, actually I hope it isn't, that business has got records of all those discounts. You're technically going to be legally responsible for selling those drugs that those people bought using your discount code that you put out to that website. Just throwing it out there. Something you might want to think about there, Mark. And yeah, it was very, very smart of you to pull that video, because that video is pretty incriminating, because that means that you knew about the business, endorsed it. But here's the thing, so many people saw the video and talked about it before you pulled it. People already know that you endorsed this business. Now, I know you didn't personally use this business, because everyone on the internet, everyone in the know, knows that their shit was underdosed. And, I mean, Mark, we're Jews. Let's be honest here. My mom is Jewish. You're Jew. We don't pay more for shit than we have to. Am I right? Now, they want $60 for a bottle of testosterone cypionate. Anyone know what test sip powder runs these days for the raw material? I think it's about $2.50 a gram at the current going market rate out on the black market. I think that's what the raw 99% pure powder goes for, about $2.50 a gram. Means a bottle of Test 250 got about $6 worth of drug in it. Manufacturing cost on that bottle is approximately between $8 and $9, depending on how nice of a label you put on it. Am I right, Mark? Am I getting the math right? Now, normally dealers pay $25 to $30 a bottle for legit stuff. That's what the dealers are paying. For those of you who are out there buying it, that's what your dealer usually is paying. $25 to $30 unless you're getting a lab direct. Now, these people have their own in-house stuff, and they're selling $60 a bottle for a drug that everyone says is underdosed. Everyone said their shit's underdosed. Everyone does. So it's probably half dose, quarter dose. So, you know, you figure another $3 shit. Well, that's a $5 bottle. They're charging $60. Now, Mark, I know you didn't buy that shit. All right, you're too well connected to pay that sort of price for underdosed gear. All right, we don't do that. So I know for a fact you weren't using them. So I'll give you credit there. You weren't one of their customers. You weren't one of their customers at all. But you pimped them because you are a businessman at the end of the day. And here's how I think this worked. Here's what really went down. It's my theory. All right, this is just my theory, guys. This isn't truth. This is just a theory. Why did Mark get in the business of pimping a company that he probably didn't even use? Mark wouldn't pay that type of money for gear. I know that for a fucking fact. No way he'd be paying $60 a bottle for testosterone. Fuck that. He's too well connected for that. Way too connected. So, how'd this happen? Well, what I think happened is that this guy, Rodriguez, started this business with his friend, Mike Rashid, well-known YouTuber there who's also connected, started this gym with him and immediately started his lab. Now, we know Mike was involved because Mike publicly endorsed the lab in an interview on Rick Dresden. Publicly endorsed the company by name and endorsed Richard's products by name. Now, we also know that Mike Rashid doesn't use this shit either. Because, again, Mike looks too good to be using garbage gear like this. Let's just be honest. He's using good stuff. He's not using this fucking garbage this guy's putting out. But that is his buddy. There's money to be made. Mike's getting good shit somewhere else. He's not using that shit. But that's his buddy, business partner. I think what happened is, since Mike Rashid is your good buddy, Mark, he came to you and said, hey man, you know, let's do some business. This is my good buddy over here. He runs this lab. If you'll pimp it, put the name out there more, endorse it, because you did, Mark. You did endorse it, and everyone knows that you endorse it. Everyone was saying months ago you were endorsing it. He might have convinced you to endorse it, maybe, maybe not, allegedly give a discount code so that you could make a little bit of money. I mean, they did $10 million. They know they've already been caught on over $10 million of sales. I think Mike came to you with a real good business opportunity. That's what I think happened. Deal you just couldn't pass up. All you had to do was pimp this company. After all, they're claiming it's FDA grade. They got a doctor there who can do prescriptions. And that's what you heard too. You said, yeah, man, they got a doctor. This can be prescription. This is all legal. But you probably didn't look into it any further because you're not going to buy this shit. You have good contacts. I already know you have good contacts. You get good shit. Am I right? Better than this shit. Only stupid, unconnected motherfuckers buy garbage like this. And you're more than happy to direct them that way. So that's what I think happened. Mike came to you with a good deal because his other buddy roped him into this. And I think he was handling some of the administrative end of the financials. But don't worry, that's all going to be looked into. I'm sure the DEA, FBI, and the IRS is going to be combing through all of that. And maybe they're going to find some money transfers from one of these businesses somewhere, maybe one Mike owns. Maybe he's transferred some money to one of your accounts, to a business you own, Mark. You might want to go get your books cleaned up a little bit there, buddy, just in case. Make sure none of Mike's businesses sent any large sums of money to any of your businesses, because if they did, that's going to be interesting. I'd kind of like to see that. I'd kind of like to see your books. That would be interesting. You can get some forensic accountants to dig through some of that. So yeah, that's my theory. And then you're going to cover up for your buddy Mike, and you're going to pull down all those videos where you endorse this because, Mark, you know that if you don't, and if anything gets found in any of Mike's books, and it is going to get found, that connects any of this to you after you pimped this company that I know you didn't use, after you pimped it, you're going to get fucked as bad as that goat did in that story. And yeah, Mark and I have had a bit of a friendship, but what he didn't tell you guys is the time he did come down to Texas on some business and we hung out for the day. And we decided to, go eat a little bit of Texas barbecue, shoot some guns, go drive through the Texas countryside a little bit. So we hopped in his rental car down here. Mark was driving along, and we're just chatting about his MTS way and writing articles and all that good stuff. And we see something up ahead on the side of the road. And I'm like, hey, Mark, slow down, dude, slow down. I think that's a goat up there. Sure enough, he slows down. There's a nanny goat with her head stuck in the fence. And I tell him, hey, Mark, stop the car. Let's get out and see what we can do about this. So he stops the car, and I get out, and I walk over. And I realize this goat's just there bleeding. Blah, blah, got her head stuck in the fence. She's hopelessly stuck. I look around. I don't really see anyone around. And I figure, what the hell? So I drop my pants and start going to town on her. And Mark gets out of the car, and he's just like, what are you doing? And I just look at him for a minute, and he just gets quiet. And goat, she just keeps bleeding. Blah, blah. And Mark just keeps staring. He's like staring at me really kind of funny, not saying a word. Finally, I kind of get tired of Mark looking at me. And I look over at him, and I go, hey, bro. You just keep staring like that. Do you want some of this too? He pauses for a second, looks me dead in the eyes, just kind of nods and goes, yeah, I think I will. So Mark walks over, drops his pants, then bends over and sticks his head in the fence. But, all things considered, I could understand why Mark wouldn't really want to tell that story.